Okay, so when we were together this week, we started to take a look a little bit at batteries, multiple batteries and multiple bulbs. And let's take a look at what you may have ended up with in terms of putting batteries together. So we've got two batteries right here, and one of the things you may have done was to take a battery and a wire and go from the positive end to the positive end of a battery, and then from there to one end of the light bulb, like the metal with the screw threads on there, from the bottom negative end of the battery to the other negative end, and then to the bottom of the light bulb like this. So that's one way to set that up, okay? Now yet another way to do that is to put the batteries so that they line up like this, so that the positive end of one battery is touching the negative end of another battery. And then I can take a wire and go again to the bottom of the light bulb, and I can go from the negative part of this battery to the screw thread part of a light bulb. So when you did that, you probably saw something different than when you set it up the way we did before. Then another way that you can do that is to begin to play with multiple light bulbs. So let's go back to the first diagram that we had before. We're going to go from the positive and then to this part of the light bulb, and then from there to the other thread end of the light bulb. Then we'll go from the negative to the negative here, and then to the bottom here, and then to the bottom right here. Okay, so that's one way to do that. And then another way to do that would be like this. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go ahead and just whichever battery way you want to do it, that's fine. Not worried about the batteries at this moment. But this time I want to go from the bottom of this to then out of here and to the bottom of this one, and then to the metal screw part of that. So you should see the difference between those two. All right? And that should have also made the light bulbs light up. Now, let's go back and take a look at what these are called. When I set the batteries up this way, where I come from here to one end of the bulb, from the plus to the plus like this, this is set up in a way that we call parallel. P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. This is set up in what we call a parallel circuit. All right? And the reason it's called parallel is because it goes positive to positive, negative to negative. So they are all the same. Another way to look at that is if I had a battery here and a battery here, and I know I'm not doing a very good job of drawing, and a battery here, and these are all the positive ends at the top and the negative ends at the bottom. If I line up all the positives together and then all the negatives together, they form a parallel line between the two of those. So that's called a parallel arrangement. Okay. In this next one, when I lined them up this way, where I went from the positive to the negative, from the positive to the negative, I can have a whole string of batteries right here. And when I do that, that's called series, like this. It's called a series circuit. It's set up in a series fashion. All right. I think you should have found that when you did the batteries in series, I'm going to ask you a question. You can look in your notes. Did you get a brighter light bulb or the same brightness of light bulb? So brighter or the same brightness compared to when you had the batteries in parallel. All right, you should be able to answer that question. We'll talk about that in class. Then the same thing happens over here. You should be able to tell what's going to happen now. What would you call it if I connected the bottom ends of all the light bulbs together? Just like I did the batteries. Let's say I had some more light bulbs over here. What would you happen if you connected then all of the threaded parts of the light bulbs together? What would you call that? That would be lines like this, so that would be a parallel circuit for the light bulbs. And same thing happens over here in this diagram. If I were to make this go from here, from the bottom to the threaded end, from the bottom to the threaded end, from the bottom to the threaded end, and then this would go back to the battery over here, and this one come back from the battery over here. That would be called a series circuit. And again, the question for you is, did this make the light bulbs brighter or did it make the light bulbs dimmer? And the other thing to ask yourself is, what happens if you unscrewed one of the light bulbs here and just took it completely out of the circuit? What would happen then? And compared to the parallel one, if you took it completely out of the circuit, what happens to it? Some great questions to think about, and we'll talk about that the next time I'm around. Just so you know, I won't be there next week, so you guys have a good class. Bye now.